The Jurassic Park franchise is one of the most fascinating long-running series, but some of the sequels can be hit and miss, although you'd be hard to find a dinosaur movie that can even come close to touching any of this franchise. And since I just covered a video going through every dinosaur compared to their real-world counterparts from the original film, let's get to the rankings from worst to best of every Jurassic Park and World movie. And remember, this is just my opinion. We're bound to disagree, so I'd love to see your ranking of the series in the comments below. Starting in last place is gonna be the latest Jurassic Park film, Jurassic World Dominion. I had high hopes for this movie before seeing it. They had the original cast coming back from the first movie, the dinosaurs looked a little closer to what they probably actually looked like in the real world. There was this amazing prologue that they actually released before the film, and it was like set during dinosaur time, and they put it online. It was amazing. They also shared a bunch of bonus scenes of dinosaurs rampaging the world to YouTube and whatnot, and then I saw the film and basically none of that was in it. Sure, the original 3 stars were back, but so poorly shoehorned in that it was just kinda sad, and there would be no way that Ian Malcolm would ever work for another dinosaur engineering company after how he was almost killed multiple times in the first 2 movies. That's insanity. The prologue scene was nowhere to be found, and the dinosaurs attacking people in the real world were extremely glossed over. Instead, they focused on telling a story about the evils of man and biosyn engineering giant locusts. First of all, locusts that size never existed, and within the film, would no one in the world wonder where a giant prehistoric locust came from and why it doesn't seem to be eating biosyn crops? It's absurd. There's a lot more to say about this film, but let's move on to next. It's just an upsetting movie. Some people are gonna definitely not like where I rank this next film, but I'm just gonna do it. In 5th place is Jurassic World. I remember enjoying this film somewhat when I first saw it in theaters, but since then I've just gotten pretty tired of these remakes masquerading as sequels. It started with The Force Awakens, and Hollywood has been sucking that idea dry for almost a decade now. Like, just call this what it is. A beat-for-beat remake of the original that is inferior in almost every way. Now, I say almost every way because clearly the CGI is better, but somehow it is showcased in such a way that it feels less real within the environment. I will give this film props for being somewhat meta with the inclusion of fans of the original park, although I have no idea how that park would really have any fans since it never opened and only caused death and destruction whenever they tried to do anything with it. It's also a bit of a mean-spirited movie. Like, why does the secretary get eaten alive in such a violent fashion? Those deaths are often saved for the awful villains, like the really evil villains, not the prissy secretaries. But nonetheless, this movie isn't as actively awful as Dominion, mainly because it uses the first film as a template so closely, but it doesn't do enough new with material to warrant many rewatches. So this is where my list gets a little bit better. I think the next 2 entries are good, but not great. So coming in 4th place is going to be Jurassic World Fallen World Kingdom. Wait, that's not right. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. I think this film gets too much hate, but I understand why some people don't like it. To me, it has a good movie and a bad movie happening concurrently. The good movie is the haunted house with spooky dinosaurs. The bad movie is the secret dinosaur action and the cloning junk happening. When the film is trying to scare you, it does it super well. A lot of cool shot compositions, and the Indoraptor is a nice addition to the franchise. Even though I'm not a huge fan of the whole spliced gene dinosaur thing, it just seems redundant. Like, people would not get tired of seeing real dinosaurs, come on. There's like thousands of breeds of dinosaurs, just make more real dinosaurs. But whatever, I digress. I also do like the opening with the fast-paced rescue of the dinosaurs on the island. That's one of the best action set pieces the series has given in years. And I get a little sad when I see the dinosaurs left behind. All in all, the film is definitely clunky, but it has some new ideas that I appreciate, and the direction is on point. Now coming into the top 3 is probably my most rewatched Jurassic Park film, Jurassic Park III. I don't know what it was, but for some reason I was obsessed with this one when I was younger. I must have had it on repeat like a million times. It was the only one that I had on DVD, and it must have been the first one I saw in theaters. I probably would have been the perfect age when this came out, about 10 years old. And I think that's like the peak time in like a guy's life when like their interest in dinosaurs is just like at an all-time high. And then obviously dinosaurs are really cool, so a lot of people still like them when they're older. So I think it just hit at the perfect time for me. Now later in my teenage years, I would babysit a younger kid, and I made the mistake of popping this movie on to keep him entertained. He too got obsessed with it, and then I had to watch it every time I babysat this child. And that's when I started to dislike this movie a little bit. Since then I've seen it a few more times, and I think I've come around on it. But it's far from my favorite or most rewatchable of the franchise anymore. What helps is the runtime is super short, only just about 90 minutes, so it's a tight film and there's a lot of action. It doesn't always make perfect sense, but it's fun. Plus the story is simple. It's basically the Spinosaurus is out for revenge on these people on the island because they clipped his sail on their plane. So it's like watching a PG-13 slasher movie with a dinosaur. It's super fun and I don't really get bored watching it. So for those reasons alone, it's in my top 3. Coming in second place is going to be the second film, The Lost World Jurassic Park. Now this film has a lot going against it. Laura Dern and Sam Neill both didn't want to come back, so we get Jeff Goldblum, who could no longer be the funny wisecracking sidekick, but instead is now the no-nonsense stern leading man, which makes for a boring protagonist. Also, the rest of the cast feel like poor imitations of what came in the first movie, but this film is directed by Steven Spielberg, and the guy knows how to direct a scene to make it both tense and still have a sense of whimsy. Obviously, some of the magic of the first film can no longer exist. We've seen dinosaurs already, but some of the new scenes like the 2 T-Rexes attacking the trailer and the Velociraptors in the field work extremely well. Not to mention we basically get a Steven Spielberg Godzilla movie at the end when the T-Rex reaches land, and that's really the chef's kiss to this movie. Sure, it's not the best film in the world, but it's a fun ride, and if every Jurassic film since this one kept this level of filmmaking, the franchise would probably be a bit more loved than it is today. But it goes without saying that Jurassic Park 1993 takes the cake here. It's not only a visually cinematic masterpiece, it's just a good film with characters that grow and change as the movie goes forward. The animatronic work and CGI still hold up till this day. The casting of every character is perfect, including the memorable side characters like Nedry, Mr. Muldoon, and Ray Arnold. Every scene shows us something about the island, the characters, or the story. Really doesn't feel like there's anything that should have been cut, and that's like a testament to a well-paced movie. Does some of the CGI in the daylight look a little off now? Sure, but the way the shots are showcased and how the characters react to the dinosaurs sells everything. Not to mention the amazing sound effects work done to create the dinosaur voices. Sure, we know now that dinosaurs can't really roar as they do now in this film, but that T-Rex roar or Velociraptor sounds are iconic, as well as the Dilophosaurs. This is just a director and writer, Michael Crichton, who were both at the top of their game when this film and novel came out, and this movie will hold up until the rest of time as far as I'm concerned. So, what do you guys think of my ranking? Do you agree or do you have your own opinions about the franchise? Feel free to leave them below if you like. Also check out my animation showcasing the differences between the dinosaurs in the movie and their real life counterparts on Tell It Animated. And before I sign off, I want to thank Gavin Hyman and Samarama for joining the Patreon recently, as well as all my other supporters. And until next time, I've been Aaron, and I'll tell you something later.